Circus parades are always fun, so have one today. Who would you like to be? A lovely white circus pony prancing and dancing in time to the music? A clown making funny faces as he hobbles along? Or a lion tamer looking brave and strong? Make your choice and be ready. It's time for the circus parade to begin. Lion tamer, looking brave and strong. Circus parades are always fun, so have one today. Who would you like to be? A lovely white circus pony prancing and dancing?
Good evening, folks. 30 seconds to showtime. Grab your seat, leave your drinks to the bar. Hold your breath, put your hands together. We present Santa Fe's finest star, who has danced with the Mayor of Guinea, who has dined with the Queen of Vermont. We trace the voyages of Sinbad, corresponding with the men who can't lose the tapis. C'est pas la même chose que la vache qui rit. Les vaches font mon ami.
And hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of The G-Spot. This is where I get to spend some time talking to some weird, wild, and wonderful people. And so today, I'm talking with the amazing and wonderful Esmerelda May. How are you doing, Esmerelda?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
So yeah, we have mutual friends. We've actually never met physically in person yet. Yet. That's always my hope. Is like that's why I have people on here. Is like there are people I like to get to know, like both this way and just go hang out and have a drink or whatever. So
I think that's great.
yeah. So for people who are not aware of who you are, could you please do us the quick elevator pitch on who Esmerelda May is?
Sure. So I am a New Jersey-based performer. I perform burlesque. Recently got more into the producing side of things. I've actually been doing this for over 10 years now. A lot in the tri-state area, but I have traveled across the country for different festivals. I'm also a big cosplayer and a big onto the cosplay scene itself. So that's pretty much it. I bring my own flavor of Latin, weird, nerdy art to any stage that will have me.
That all sounds pretty much, you're just like checking off boxes on things I like seeing. So, like literally, is okay, all right. But I love all those sorts of things. So very, very cool. So we're gonna get the thing out of the way real quick, just so that way we can get on to the rest of our business, and we're gonna go back and revisit it much time. So you've got, because we're gonna revisit this a lot of times. You have a digital show that's gonna be coming up this Saturday, um, which I put the link into the chat for Twitch. Anybody's watching Twitch, uh, which is called K-pop the Pasty, or that Pasty.
K-pop, that pasty. Yes,
That
it is a
Pasty. That's
pun.
right.
Yes, it is a pun. I am also a big K-pop fan, and myself and Attica Wild, who's another performer of New Jersey, have been talking for years about doing this. We've been performing for almost about the same amount of time, and we remember just like going to small shows in basements in like New Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania, and talking about like, oh, we should totally do this number to this K-pop number, but would anybody come watch that? And then K-pop kind of blew up on the East Coast a lot recently. And then with everything shut down with the pandemic, we were like, well, now we can do things virtually and we can reach out to other performers from anywhere. So decided to kind of take the plunge with that. So it's nerdy burlesque and regular burlesque. There's sideshow. There's we do dance covers. Some of our performers just do like music video types to songs, but it's all to K-pop music. And the hope is that people who are fans of K-pop can enjoy it, but also if you don't know K-pop, you can kind of see, because like there's such a wide variety there that there's always something for somebody. It's not just all BTS. Don't get me wrong. Everybody loves some BTS, but it's not all BTS.
Well, yeah, there's like 16 other like five dude bands that are in K-pop.
There's more than that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like,
Yeah.
I mean, just of the milk.
There's a lot.
Yeah, no, I know. There's like a huge selection, and actually, it's I'm a person who listens a little bit. I do literally listen to a little bit of everything. So yeah, I listen to some K-pop a little bit, not a huge amount. I'm less into like dancey hooks, poppy sort of stuff, but like there's some deeper, kind of heavier. Like there's some of the female K-pop singers that like really get like really invest in their singing, and I of course don't remember any of their names. So
It's all good. You know, there's definitely some like darker ones, and like have like heavier theme tones and stuff. Because most people think like bubble pop, kind of like, you know, peppy kind of music and stuff. But there's so much more to that. And
yeah,
I mean, a lot of them now they have like the rapping line and like the more edgy line. Then they have the like era line where like every band kind of does like a different era sometimes. So it's really cool. And I feel like there's really something definitely for a lot of people. And I know a lot of my personal friends who weren't into K-pop now, either out of just pure smothered them with it, or they actually had some kind of interest with it, because if you were my friend, I send you nothing but like K-pop TikToks and videos I find, and like I find a performance video and I cry over how great it was, and then I share with everybody, you know, they have no idea what's happening. So, but I've gotten a lot of people into it because they find a group that kind of like meshes with what they like. So
I guess I know what to look forward to in my private messages from you then.
you know what? Yeah, actually after tonight, probably.
That's just that it's fair. As I listen to
I'm
every.
sorry that I'm not sorry.
No, it's also fair. Now I'm gonna turn around and send you even weirder stuff when it comes to music, so be prepared.
Bring it on.
So
I'm ready.
oh,
I'm ready.
all right. Um, so you said you've been doing this for about 10 years. Is that correct?
Actually, more than 10 years.
More than 10 years. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you were 19. So you were 9 when you got started, right?
Oh, thank you for flattering. No, no. Uh, I was 19.
Oh,
You were
I,
close. I mean,
I,
at 10 more years, I was 19.
I was
Totally lied
originally
about
going
my
to say
age.
I was going to say 19, but I figured the joke was better to say 9, so that's why
Yeah,
I did
no, but I
9.
did turn
Uh,
19, and today is actually my birthday. So there you
there
go.
we go. Hey, so
Yep,
happy birthday.
thank
So for
you. I
your
am 30.
to be 30 again.
So 11 years, right? Math. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that'd be
I'm not a
11ish
math
years,
person.
like over
There
10
you go.
years. So I'm still correct. Hey,
There you go. That's why I
no
said
problem.
over 10 years. I don't say a specific number because I can't keep track anymore.
No, it's fair. It's fair. I can like my only thing is like I can keep track of when I got started, like in sideshow stuff, because there's a very hard date when things began for me. Uh,
Hmm.
that's the only reason why. Otherwise, then I'd probably be the same way. But yeah, like I have a very hard date when I started producing and doing sideshow stuff, which is March 10th,
Hmm.
2018 is when I got started producing and then getting into sideshow. I know exactly the
That's
date.
awesome, though. Sideshow's always been something I'm fascinated in. I don't have really the cojones to do much, but I can say that. Right? I can say
Here's
that. Okay.
here's the crazy thing. So you're already doing sideshow, because burlesque. Burlesque stems from the girly shows, which were in the tents for part of sideshow. So burlesque is part of sideshow. So you're fine.
That's true. I have definitely
Yeah.
done like some of the sideshow shows and been like the burlesque of that. But I always think it's so
Well,
fascinating, and I love watching the audience's reaction to weird sideshow things.
well, that's half the fun, and that's usually what I do. Is I like because in the end I like talking. So when I talk to people while I'm doing this sort of stuff, and so I'm like going, all right, you're gonna see this thing. No, don't to look away. Right here, we're having a moment as
Watch.
I watch as I do like some weird thing, whether it's like putting a mouse trap on my tongue or like crunching on some glass or trying to do a trick or whatever, just sort of like a magic trick. Because it's all
I did
sideshow.
learn how to staple myself, and that's about as far as I got. It was by a
Hey, that's
sideshow
great.
performer that they taught me how to do it correctly without like injuring myself. I did
Well,
it
I mean,
twice.
yeah, well, you still injure yourself, which is like how to.
Well, yeah,
It's,
you're literally causing little puncture wounds all over your body. But
yeah, but like how, like where to puncture it at, and the type of staple gun you're supposed to use, that sort of
yes,
stuff. Yeah,
make sure
and
it's
hey, that's great.
sanitized. Make sure everything is clean.
Yeah, I've got two guns. I use one strictly for me, and I got one backup that's clean just in case somebody goes, I want to do it too. And I
Yeah,
go, "Well, sure,
no,
but I do staples as well. That's great for the end of the show for getting tips. So there you go. That's another way to get tips. Although you're a burlesque performer, you've got so many more options to get tips than I do.
I mean, I've got two pockets that I always say have room for more things.
There you go. See, hey.
I was like, this is the kind of show that I can say that. Okay,
Oh no, we can
cool.
talk. Like no, you can cuss, you can fucking. We just can't show anything because I am
Gotcha.
broadcasting on Twitch, so there's
Oh
limits
yeah,
on what
perfect.
we can show. But you can use whatever fucking language you want to use, so
Oh,
that's
perfect. Because fuck is like my
fine.
favorite word in the whole English dictionary, so that's perfect.
That's fine. I'm a big fan. Like literally, it's like cuss and drink or whatever. That's how it works. Which I just can't show, which is
Cheers.
still fine. Cheers. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, when I got started doing this show, is I did it because I knew a lot of burlesquers were having difficulty trying to like it's very at the very beginning of the pandemic is like what can burlesque performers do? Like it takes a minute to put a show together online, but they can't turn around like musicians can like turn around and throw a video out real quick. A lot of sideshow
Right.
people can turn around and put a video out real quick and can broadcast everywhere. Burlesque,
Okay.
there's a lot of places you can't show stuff.
This is
Uh,
true.
so I went. So I started doing this particular show to talk with burlesque friends of mine. And so, like my very first episode I did with Coco Electric, and
Okay.
so yeah, a good friend of mine from Austin, Texas. So like basically, it's like she part of the Austin Academy of Burlesque, and they were just starting to do online classes. So I go, hey, you want to come on? Talk about online classes. We'll just catch up, that sort of stuff, and that's just how it started. And then I just went every week. I've had like Miss Mary Jane Green's been on, Five Racers, Miss Audacious, Remy D. Like next month, I'm going to have Pinky DeVille on, who's from England.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Look at that's awesome.
burlesque specific, and of course the great Hana Lee, our mutual friend, has been on as well,
Yeah.
and then and then now you as which is amazing performers, which I enjoy talking with. So
There you go.
I wouldn't do it if I didn't like
Well,
talking to
thank you.
people. So yeah,
That's
uh,
very true.
yeah.
No, that's
In fact,
awesome.
yeah, I was actually on a different channel originally when I started this, which actually was started by another burlesque friend of mine who was trying to help out Houston and Texas performers and created a Twitch channel for people to basically created like this virtual busking corner for people to do stuff on. That's how I got started. Shout out to Tifa Tiddlywinks who helped me set that up too. So,
That's cool.
anyways, yeah,
It's been rough, like changing from doing something in front of a live audience where you get that interaction. And I mean, like, I'm a notorious performer who like I choreograph moments, but I don't like do the whole thing. So then
yeah,
having to go from like I feed off of the audience. So the first show I did like it was a live show still, but it was over Zoom. And I remember I was just like doing my thing, and I'm like, I feel like I'm doing everything wrong because I hear nothing. I hear my cat's bell jingling from the collar somewhere in the house in the room that I locked him in so he didn't come and run across the screen. But it's like a very different kind of thing to that. And then I started seeing people doing like more like the artistic music videos, like all those big ideas that we always have about like, let's do these big, crazy, like costume changes and set design. And you can't really bring that to like a little tiny bar or hole in the wall in New York or Pennsylvania or something. So like
Right.
being able to do that in a place where like, no, I can spread this out. I can go to different locations. I can do different filming. This is a whole new art form. It's still exhausting and I think even more work than live shows. But like I feel like it's so rewarding at the same time because like those big dreams you have as somebody who's artistic, like you're actually able to do some of it. I mean, on a performer budget, but still.
Well, what's interesting is like for me, because I like awareness for myself and for a lot of people I've talked with, like drag performers and stuff like drag totally took to this so quick because in their mind they went, I get to make a movie,
Oh yeah,
awesome, and
like
that's
it's
really that's
perfect
the
for that.
idea. And so like me, like the first show I started doing was a thing called the Devil's Hour, which I used to do live. Where
Okay.
I used to bring like a burlesque performer, a musician, a comedian, and a variety performer, which would whether it's like a hooper or like sideshow or whatever. The idea
Mhm.
is bringing all these different sort of crowds that didn't really talk to each other together in the same room to watch something
Right.
new and different. But in my head, I always had the idea of being a TV show. Like I built it like a TV show. And so when they go, all right, cool, do something live online, I go, all right. And that's what they started doing. I basically went, all right, cool, let me shift this in. And I literally learned everything in the past year how to do this all. It includes doing this show too. Uh, I just weirdly enough, is I love doing this part of this now, and this is going to be part of my going forward because I think
Yeah.
for performers, myself and other people, is that pandemic has taught us that one is that we can't depend on one avenue of which to generate our
No,
artistic content. Uh,
I agree.
it was yeah, we could get away with it, but then after a year, you're going, you have to find another outlet, and so a lot of people
Right.
did or they gave up. Um, and two is like the cool thing I like about doing this show, like doing these show or watching all the online shows, including K-pop that pasty this Saturday. Uh, it's just the event is in Facebook. Look on the Twitch chat. You'll actually see the thing there. You can also follow either one of us on the Instagrams and the Facey Spaces, and you can get those links as well.
The Book of Faces.
Yeah, I'll always link it around.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, so I still really enjoy watching all the digital performances because one is it allows me to see some people I probably never would have had a chance to see ever. I would
Right.
not even known about.
I was
So
gonna say
that's
that's
kind
the
of
other thing too. Like you get like this show, particularly like going back to that, like Hannah's in Texas. I'm in like the East Coast. I'm like outside of New York. Like I would have never gotten to work with her. We have a performer Sake who's in California who's actually gonna be moving to New York, but like never would have met them throughout this. Like people all over get to connect. And I've been doing shows and I'm like sitting there and the people on Zoom are like, yeah, I'm in Canada right now. I'm in like wherever. It's like you get to do all these things, those festivals everybody always wants to like, I love okay, I have a very weird relationship with festivals because I feel like I understand the necessity for them, but I also understand it's like popularity. Like there's so much of things with that. But it's like, those other festivals you hear about, like you have the opportunity now with this digital form. And I know things are opening up and everybody's so eager to go back out. And I think that's great. Like I'm actually like out right now too because just of life is, but like it's like one of those things where like I feel like digital still has a place and it needs to have a place regardless of live shows. Like I'm actually talking to Renaissance Noir, who's also one of the management of K-pop that Pacey. She has connections in Philadelphia, and we're talking about doing like, okay, we'll do some live shows and some virtual shows. But even if we do a live show, like people like Hannah who want to do the show, like she's been in every show I've done for this. I want to keep having her. She can still submit a digital show, so it'll be some digital, some live art, and I feel like that's like what the new norm has to be almost like you have to be able to adapt to both because like you said you can reach so many audiences you couldn't and the beautiful thing too is like a lot of shows do rewatches like what if you wanted to go to one show but there's another show happening well now you have the opportunity to still participate and share and like give help to these artists in some kind of capacity which I think has just opened up a whole new avenue that wasn't like we didn't think about before so
yeah. No, that's why that's like I'm always been the big proponent of everybody. Like if somebody asked me, I go, "Well, what happens when everything gets back to normal?" I go, "Well, one is normal is never going to happen again. It's all
that there is
changed."
no such thing
No, it was never normal before. To be fair, We had a lot of illusions about how things were before that we don't have as much anymore. Um, but yeah, that's just part of the world now. It's just like now it's the live plus. It's going to be live
Yep.
plus everything, whether it's live plus digital, like whether it's actually like doing actual performances or doing things like this, where you're just sitting there talking to people and like just getting people to know you. That's the idea. Is like if because a lot of times I think people forget that because there becomes this investment, and so I like talking to people. I love seeing shows, but the other thing I love about shows is the afterwards and talking to everybody after the show too. So this is a way for us to get to know each other, and then I'll see the performances, which I've watched a couple of your stuff at least on YouTube. I mean, they're a few
Yeah.
years old, but still good.
I
I
don't
mean,
really post a lot anymore. Yeah, but yeah, those are definitely some old stuff. But yeah, like actually, it's so funny. I was talking to another performer. I can't remember who it was at this point. We were talking about like, yeah, like that's the part as a performer that I miss the most is that interaction afterward. It's like cramming into those tiny little changing areas. Because let's be real, we act this whole glamorous life, but it ain't glamorous at all. It's
mm,
subway rides and shoving things in suitcases, living out of suitcases, and changing in public restrooms. Of who knows what is on the floor, but like you got to do what you got to do to get to grind kind of thing. And it's like, but there's still that camaraderie there, like changing in the basement of a bar where there's like just beer stacked around you, and you're like, this is the high life. I'm here for it. But like at the same time, as somebody who actually is based out of New Jersey and tends to travel to Philadelphia, New York a lot, I have like an hour long commute to a show, like to and from, and I work like a regular, like full time job. So the commute of turning off my camera and changing out, washing my face, throwing on PJs, sitting on the couch, watching the rest of the show, and shoving Chinese food into my face. Like, there's something about that I thoroughly enjoy. I think it was my first show. I did a show with D20 burlesque, and like afterward, I like literally turned off my camera after my number, changed, and started eating my Chinese food. And I was like, I don't have an hour and a half drive back. This never happens. This is great. I have a 5-minute, 5-step walk to my bedroom, and I can go to bed. But at the same time, like I'm by myself with my cats, and I'm turning into crazy cat lady, so I don't get that like cheering for your other fellow performers. Like, because like let's be real, we're our biggest cheerleaders, and like having that camaraderie there too. Like audience is great, amazing, and like we wouldn't survive without them, but we also wouldn't survive without the community. And as much as like things are so like can be so crazy, like it's important too.
yeah. Michael Mortila is actually in the chat. He says a new era in human experience. We can make the next of it. Him, by the way, I'm going to have him on the show next week. He's a musician and composer out of the LA area. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you, Michael. No, it's I'm like weirdly enough, it's like with the pandemic happening, the one good thing was weirdly enough is a lot of community really the community kind of rose up, like whether it's like it's burlesque specifically, like sideshow, like you're going, well, like you actually have the opportunity to have like real conversations with people that otherwise you would have gone, all right, cool, I'll see you at the next show for the 10 minutes I'm going to talk with you. So it's been good to actually have, that's the one good thing that comes out of I'd say the one good thing that come out is like in a lot of ways for performance stuff like that. There's just been a bigger sense of community in a lot of respect, a lot of respect. So I really enjoyed that. Uh,
Yeah.
we don't commiserate like being behind backstage, like in the dressing room that's this big with the mirror that's even smaller, and the AC kind of works.
Let's be real. It never works. It never worked. You just sweat and you just tried to power through it.
Yeah, it's like, see, I don't have the luxury of taking all my clothes off when I go on stage. I mean, I could, I guess. I mean, I create an act around that, but usually I'm wearing a jacket with a bunch of stuff in it, and so I'm living in a jacket with usually like a shirt and like maybe a tie, depending on how fancy the place is. Just pulling random stuff out of it. So yeah, I feel that no AC really well, and I moved to New York because it's colder here, so. I'm looking forward to having actual cold weather as opposed to Texas, where cold weather is like, 60.
I mean, I see now somebody who grew up in this area. I'm like, that sounds nice, but I'm Latin. I don't like cold. I like to be hot. I'm one of those weirdos who's like, I'm okay being like sweltering hot over being cold. So when I'm cold, I just want to throw on blankets and do nothing. But going back to what you're saying, there is a downside to having to get naked in front of people because when there's no air conditioning, usually also means there's no heat. So in the middle of the cold, you're like, oh
So
boy.
that's true. That is true on the other side too. The fact is, like, as I said, I come from Texas, so there's no really. I mean, I say this, but there's a lot of the performers out there who get cold really quickly. So I get it. I do get it. The fact is, I just get hot and I just stay hot for the 3 or 4 hours I'm involved with the thing. But that's what we do. But still, it's the idea as far as doing this sort of stuff allows us to still create community without having to share those experiences, which we still miss because even those shitty things that we do, you know, changing in the sandwich area of like a weird bar, had that happen, along with burlesquers. I had to change
Wait.
this a few.
Like, were there sandwich like stuff out for you while you
No,
were
so
here?
like so there's this bar where like they had like at night, like during the day they had a little like a little kind of like kitchen area where they make sandwiches, but they close it at night, and so that became the backstage area for people to change. That's also the thoroughfare to go back to where the booze is being kept as well for the bar, and suddenly everybody needs more liquor that are as far as the bartenders. Uh,
That's always how it goes. That's always how it goes. There were like there are some venues that you do where you have to go behind the bar to go downstairs to the storage area because that was the changing area. And then
yeah.
you're like trying not to disturb the bartenders while they're doing their job because they need to do their job and make money. And you're like, but I have no clothes on and I would like to like go put my stuff down and put clothes on. It's just
Well,
like
no,
a constant.
it's no, it's just suddenly everybody has to go get liquor all of a sudden. All the male bartenders need to go get stuff all
Oh,
at
geez.
once, and so like me being the guy, I'm good. Like literally, like I had to stand at the door with my back to I had to put my back to the door so if anybody opens up, they just see my back, and so they go, "Hey," I go, "Man, people are getting ready back here." 6'2", so most people can't look over me. So for a lot of this stuff, so it comes out. Yep, gotta wait. Yeah, Bill, boy, we need the guy. I go, give us 5 minutes. But I go, dude, you have seven bars in this venue. You can grab it from another bar. It's just or wait, one
No,
of the two, because like
there's
I mean, because everybody's getting changed and they're putting on pasties and stuff like that. I'm going, yeah, no, you're not coming in here right now. Just
I was gonna say my experiences with that have been less at bars and more on the convention scene. So I perform with Cosplay Burlesque, which performs up and down the East Coast a lot. I
yeah,
actually produce all the digital shows that they've been doing the whole time we've been closed. And I mean, we have our first live gig at the end of August. It's a very small con. They're keeping everything limited, so we have a lot of restrictions that we work like back and forth with because like we're all vaccinated, but at the same time we still want to make sure that we're safe and being mindful of everybody else because let's be
yeah,
real, this thing ain't over.
no,
So it's a lot of like that kind of stuff. And I'm so sorry about the noise line.
that's
But
fine.
like just being backstage at a convention hall, you're in a hotel room. You're in like the storage area where the chairs for the ballroom are kept. And I used to work in the hotel business, so like I know how the backstage looks. They keep the front looking nice, and the back is just whatever you can make of it. But I remember like changing in tiny little hallways where like one person couldn't really fit through, and then you're trying to change, and the other person's trying to get past. And in those kind of shows, a lot of us do multiple numbers. I mean, I've done one show, 2.5 hour show because there's usually a little longer because it's more of a presentation than like a bar show or something you would like
Yeah,
go to in the city.
yeah,
And I was in 6 numbers because I choreograph all the group numbers. So I was in 3 group numbers, like another duet with somebody and a solo. And one of my numbers was back to back. So like I literally had like all of our stagehand off the side of the stage. And I was like, everybody's going to get a show back here. Sorry, all the staff and the people who work at this hotel. Because like I was walking upstairs, ripping off a wig and putting on another wig and had someone changing my pants. Like it was crazy. But like those are the ones we get the most things. Like I remember like staff would walk by completely unaware that like we were getting changed back there. It's just like one of those things where it's like, people are naked. And they're like, what is happening? I need to get this down. But I've changed in some weird places. I've had to like change in a bathroom and like run across and like make sure I was PG-13, so like have a robe on because the changing area was never used. Oh, it's like anything and everything. And then you get on stage and it's like glamorous. And I'm like, oh no, backstage, I've changed standing on top of a toilet at a bar because that's the only place I can find a space.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
you do what you gotta do.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it works. This is showbiz. It's the glamour of showbiz. Regardless of what it is, yeah. There's never, only the big names get something slightly better, and even most of the big names get the same experience we do. They just have
they perform at the same venues, and I'm like, I know what the backstage of that venue looks like.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like all these performers like, oh yeah, like I'm now just learning about New York because I'm coming to New York right when stuff's like building up again, so what's still around and what's
welcome
not,
by the way. It's a great city.
Thank you. Yeah, so far so good. I've been here 2 weeks, so
awesome.
I haven't made it off the island, the quote unquote island. Coney Island isn't an island; it's a beach. But it's just called an
You're
island.
You're gonna open up a whole can of worms if you start going island borough nonsense.
Oh no, it's like I'm learning all that stuff right now. I mean, the most I've really done is hang out.
New York.
Yeah, thanks. So far, all I've really done is done the Coney Island sideshow stuff because it's within a reasonable walking distance to me. I haven't gone deep into New York is because I'm waiting to get my furniture in. Got a dog, making sure he's good and used to being around in the area, which he's pretty good now. And so before I make my way in, that getting a new job, et cetera, so I have money to go do stuff. Because
that's important. Because welcome to the world.
Yes, because I do this because I love doing this. I make no money doing this other than the fact I just like doing it. So that's how it goes. But yes, that's how it works. So like once I start getting the job and some money, I'll be making my 4 ways in. Eventually I'll start getting booked for late night shows to do stuff again and all that sort of fun stuff. So it'll be fun. Someday.
Coney Island is great though. Just like it is fantastic, especially in the summer.
Oh, it is. It's been great. In fact, in about 15 minutes or so, they're gonna. Oh no, sorry, today's Thursday. So tomorrow, they do the fireworks at 9:45, so that'll be a lot of fun. And then the sideshow opens up tomorrow, so it'll be also fun too. Anyway, everybody's watching now. Right now, right here, I have is Esmerelda May. She is a producer and performer who's got a new show coming out digitally this Saturday. Called K-Pop That Pasty. I'm going to put the thing in the chat. And this is the chat on Twitch for people watching the other medias, just because I can't do 2 things at the same time to put it on multiple stuff.
And it's my birthday show.
It is. Well, it's actually your birthday today. So everybody say happy birthday.
Thank you.
So yeah, and also for the people watching, you actually go to my social media on Facebook, Jeff Peterson, and I've already got a link to the event because I love digital productions, like whether it's yourself, Michael, who's watching now, says happy birthday. So
thank you, Michael.
So you can turn around next week to watch him as we talk about weird music stuff because I'm really it's gonna be a lot of fun too. So it'll be that sort of stuff. So yes, so everybody go see the show, whether it's live or you can watch it later, which is also very cool. So if you're doing something else, like me, I will probably most likely be going to the burlesque at the beach on Saturday. So I'll probably catch it later in the day, the next day or two. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. No, that'd be good. Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like I'm a very big believer in like the rewatch kind of situation because going back to what I said before, there's so many things happening. There's only so many days in the week. And so it's like having the opportunity to be able to support multiple people is great.
Well, yeah, and I'm the biggest supporter of I do this show to be supportive. So it's like, I want to make sure everybody sees, like I put some more eyes on the show. People come see it. They throw you guys a little bit more coinage your way to make it really good. And
thank you.
Yeah, I was also gonna say idea.
Sometimes just go. Yeah, I was also gonna say sometimes just like showing up and like you watch a show and then you like go home and you're like, man, I really want to watch that one number again. That's the other thing about digital. You have the opportunity to do that because, like, as a performer, I can't tell you how many times like you go to look to like apply to do shows or festivals, and you're like, oh, I want to do this number. And you're like, dang, I don't have video of it. But digital has created the opportunity to keep that in like your reserve almost. Because
Yeah,
like a
well,
lot of those new things, they want to see what you're going to do. So
yeah, well, in some cases that's really good. Like doing like, especially if something designed to be digital, it makes it work a lot better. Um, my thing is like I'm never like rewatching stuff that's live. Sometimes can be problematic. Uh, just
well,
because
there's
you're
always
still not
that
going to get that
unknown
same
factor.
feeling. Well, you don't get that same feeling. And
Yeah.
so, but watching something that's like designed to be online and stuff like that, it's a little different. So, like that. So, like, usually if it's a live performance, um, I'm happy with just having that in my head. And so I just go, I saw this thing live, and that's the only way I can explain it. Like, trying to watch it digitally or watch it later, I'm not going to get the same experience. And so you lose a lot of that crowd feeling, the crowd noise,
And like,
that feeling around that community that you have while watching it. So
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
happy with,
that's sort of the audience aspect of that too. Kind of what we're talking about before as a performer, like having that audience like interaction, and then the audience being there in person and seeing that and feeling that too. Because like I'm a big believer in like the performers feed off the audience, but the audience feeds off the performers. You know what I mean? So like having that is crucial. But yeah, like you said, like a lot of the too, like the digital art too. I mean, some of the we have such amazing art. It's like phenomenal what we've all been able to do. And then you talk to them and you're like, yeah, I filmed that on my phone. And you're like, that was all with your cell phone. Like technology is insane.
oh yeah,
And the
that's,
access to things is phenomenal.
yeah, you can like for almost like you have an iPhone, you can make a full length movie. They made a movie called Tangerine a few years ago that got like nominated for like a bunch of awards. That was filmed entirely on an iPhone.
Mhm.
Feature length film entirely on an
On an
iPhone
iPhone.
because they wanted to see if they could do it, and they did it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's
It's
others
crazy
as
though.
well, but that one like won a bunch of awards because it was done well. It helps to have a really good cinematographer to line up shots and shit like that. But still, I've been like that's the other thing I've been really impressed with a lot of people like doing these digital shows. It's just they're discovering extra talents they didn't know they had. They go whether it's the like whether it's like setting up production values for like the production on a budget, which is still fine. You don't need $1 million to make $1 million movie, $1 million looking movie, as it were. It's got to know, it's got to figuring out how to make it work, and then whether it's tricks like things like having like green screen set up like I have right now, because new
It could be
place,
lighting effects, it can be camera angles, it can be shadows, like, and that's the other cool thing. You can do so much more than you can do on stage. Because like when you go to a live performance, you're like, here's a performance space. And like we do what we can and we want like the best we can. But like when you have those like crazy ideas, like you're able to do that. And yeah, like I mean, we have a couple of performers for Casa Bella specifically. Like one of them, it just like he's done numbers only in his hallway, and just the stuff he's come up with, I'm like, digital is where he has come alive. Like he's always been a solid performer, but like it's just something about the digital where I'm like, there's something that he is connecting with digitally that it's just like elevating him to a whole other level. And like just the interaction and the audience and the chat is just so phenomenal compared to like what you're used to seeing kind of thing. Like, and those ones you like, because there's always like, I was talking to like Victor Devon about this. He produces White Elephant Burlesque. I'm a White Elephant Burlesque performer. I'm a member of the
okay,
troupe. I've been for several years. He is phenomenal, by the way, if you can get to know him. He actually just moved to California a little bit ago, and he was just here recently to get the last of his stuff. But he's going to be at the K-pop at Pacey show. Victor Devon is an amazing friend and an amazing performer. And he's artistic. Like he started off in Rocky Horror, like which I think a lot of our performers like we all have some kind of theater or performance background before
yeah,
we started doing sideshow or burlesque. But talking to him, he's like, there's the models, those performers, and there's a place for everybody. The models, the people who come in, they're like they thrive on the live because they sit there and they're like, look at me, I'm, look at this, look at these lines I can make. You have the dancers who like again have their space of like the crazy splits, the crazy dance moves, the millions of turns that are like mesmerizing to watch. And then you also have like the storytellers who have like a story they're trying to portray while they're performing. And I feel like specifically in that aspect from friends of performers I've seen, that's where they've been able to really thrive. Because like the dancers, don't get me wrong, they can do so many other things, they can do different angles and everything, but there's something about the storytelling where I feel like that's where you can do the things you can't necessarily do in 3.5, 5 minutes when they hit your music go and you're in a Sims 1 space type thing. You know what I mean? And then there's always that perpetual, like, well, if you mess up, you can always redo it. But there's a lot of back and forth on that, because then there's something else about people who do like digital performances, but they do one run throughs, because those are like, no, that was what it would have been live. And I feel like there's space for both of that. And I think that's what's so cool about this, because there's always variety in burlesque. There's always variety in sideshow. There's always variety in drag. But when you're doing
Yeah.
something digitally, there's almost even more, because you get both.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's so cool.
That's the I think a lot of it comes down like it's the storytellers. It's the I think it's the ones that really, because they figured out how to make it work. It's like not how it work. And I think in a lot of ways is like with going digital, you can finally do stuff that's in their head. So like if this is how I always envisioned it anyways, I'm glad I'm able to create my vision, because I couldn't, like, literally I could not do this live. And so but that's, they had to settle for whatever their act was live,
Right.
but now they can
They
do
don't
that.
have to
And so
compromise.
yeah.
Like, I mean, one of my numbers, I do a number as Haku from Spirit Away, from a Miyazaki film. I've done a Miyazaki show. I did as a whim, thought it was going to be a one-off. I love that number, but I was like, I'm going to be Haku, and then I'm going to turn into the river spirit. And I had this whole idea about like taking off a wig and revealing a bigger wig with horns. I've done it a couple times live. It's gone fine. But doing it digitally, I was able to do those things I wanted to do live, but couldn't, because like my music's going and I only have so much time. So it was like really cool to be able to do the full change without having to like worry about shoving the costume and like not revealing my reveal too soon, and being mindful of how I'm moving. Like I was able to like go 110% and do everything I wanted to do different sets and different lighting, and like really do that whole arc of him going from, you know, the character into the spirit. So like that was my big thing. Now that's one of my more in-depth story for me personally. I don't really know where I fall in performing. I fall into the whatever pops into my head and I make it happen. Sometimes I have a story. Sometimes I'm just like, nah, I like this song and I just want to be a floor whore, as I call myself, because I tend to like roll around on the floor a lot and get in people's faces, which you can't do now. I don't know how I'm going to react to that. I have my first live show coming up, and like I'm very big on going into the audience, and I still don't feel comfortable doing that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to adapt a little.
Yeah, it's I do like a lot of stuff I did is very much up close with getting people to, like, you know, doing things like mousetrap tricks and having like doing the mousetrap with my tongue and having somebody to pull the mousetrap off my tongue. It's a little close. I have
I
to
want to
vet
breathe on people.
Yeah, I just want to vet people, or like literally get up like right here and go, hey, what's going on? You know, just like that kind of create that, or like when I do like mentalism, because I have an act where it involves somebody holding my hand and move stuff around on the thing while I'm blindfolded. Can't do that right now. I probably could. I mean, there's ways to make it work. I just haven't figured it out yet. So that's why I do this, because until it's safe for somebody to grab my hand randomly. But you'll get it
Will it ever
worked
be
out.
safe for somebody to grab your hand randomly? Like completely off burlesque, but can we talk about certain things that we all used to do and think was cool? Like, I know this is showing up: bowling, sharing shoes, touching things that people have touched. I don't know if it's the pandemic or if I was always a germaphobe, but like now there's certain things that I'm like, do I really want to do that?
Yeah, well, they always sprayed that stuff in between. Like they had that spray, that the disinfectant spray they sprayed in between shoe wearing. So, I mean, they're already kind of doing things to keep it clean, I guess. I don't know.
Not a big sticky fingers and I don't know. There are just some things where I'm like, I'm looking at everything from a different angle now. Everything's kind of
like bowling. That just becomes the all right, cool. Just it's like all right, cool. You know, the disinfecting your hand, let it dry, grab the ball, that sort of stuff. Comes back around, disinfect it. You can always go that route if you wanted to.
Maybe it's just that I stink at bowling, so I'm just gonna keep complaining about it.
There you go. That's just, you're just gonna keep with that virtual bowling. Just go grab that old Wii set, just play Wii bowling, and just go, this is how I do it now.
Oh my god, I was worse at that than in real life bowling. I overcommitted. I always like, I got no in the gutter. It's fine. Whatever. I'll stick with my Final Fantasy and my other RPGs. Thank you very much.
Also fine too. That's usually, although sometimes those RPGs will have some weird game you got to play just because, especially Final Fantasy, you get to go like, especially 7, like I don't know about the new one yet because I don't have a PS4, so I can't play the new remake of Final Fantasy VII. But I remember the old like what's it like the old like game show world or whatever it was, the place where you get the little. God damn it! It's been forever since I played that damn game. Uh, the one dude cat guy had a place where it's like all it was like a big carnival, and you can play games at the carnival, and you can go chocobo racing and all that sort of stuff.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
weird.
yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. It took me a minute to figure that out.
Well, I
No,
had to
that's
think
fair.
about it. I'm trying. I cannot remember the name of Moogle or Moogie or something.
Moogle, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
No,
the whole
my
world.
biggest. I was gonna say my biggest thing, like complaining about being like an older millennial who used to like do games and stuff. Um, I got the new Kingdom Hearts game, and I was so excited for it because I've been waiting for this forever. And some of the controls changed. So I was remember
Yeah,
I was on Mount Olympus, the level like the first level, and I couldn't figure out how to jump to something. Like if the controls, my brain was just not registering. Something wasn't happening. I was getting so frustrated with it. One of the guys I work with came over to hang out because he was always in my pod and stuff. And I mean, this was actually pre-pandemic anyway, but he was like always hanging out with me on the weekends because like he liked to play board games and video games. And he comes over and he figures it out in 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, you're a Gen Z, so like whatever. Like he's an older Gen Z, but I was just like, dude, I've been sitting here for an hour cursing and screaming at this fucking TV over why I can't figure this out. And I was like, give me a PlayStation 1 controller. I got you beat.
yeah, I'm like they just did the Legendary edition of the remaster for Mass Effect, which I played back when it first came out, and so I'm replaying that right now. And each game also plays differently, so it's really weird to go from one game to the next like right immediately, and like you have to redo how you're doing that sort of stuff as well. And as
My
an
current game is I got all the Crash reboots, the Crash Bandicoot reboots.
oh yeah,
That's been fun.
I've been thinking about it. Just like platformers are just like an occasional game thing. Like it's like I used to love, I used to love me some Crash Bandicoot back in the day. But it's like lately, it's like platformers have not really interested me. I'm like big open world sort of RPGs has been my jam for the last few years, and so anytime I can play something like that, that's what I'm about right now. I'll play a palette like a
Do you play
platformer.
Final Fantasy 4? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying?
Oh yeah, I do play palette. Like sometimes I'll play games that are palette cleansers, where there's like a platformer or like a racing game, or like some weird random racing game. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, the Final Fantasy stuff's pretty good. I've been enjoying that. Gameplay is still odd to me because of like it's like playing other RPGs, which are very much like live, like attacking then and like going back to the turn-based sort of setup. Can sometimes have to get
Right.
used to. Why
Have
can't I
you
just
played
attack
Final Fantasy
now?
14?
I have not played that one yet.
I couldn't get into that one. You know what's reminding me of kind of what you're saying too. I just finished because I love video games, but I'm very slow at video games because I also like to read and do like 20 other different things. So it's always like I can't commit to something for too long without having to do something else.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
Fire Emblem, how the 4 houses. Oh, forgive me, I can't remember the name of it. But that's like a very much like it's literally like a game of chess. Like you like talking about like I want to attack now, but you have to like read what happens and then plan what you want to do, and then you can attack. And it's like it was fun, but because of that, there was definitely times I was like, okay, I have to put this down and walk away because like I just want to take my weapons and smash things and stab people.
Where's that dumb fighting game? Just play that for a minute. There we go.
I
Mortal
mean, that's why
Kombat
you have
for a
Smash
minute.
Bros. Though.
Yeah,
Mortal
Smash Bros.
Kombat,
Yeah,
Smash Bros, Tekken, like that's what
yeah.
those are.
Those are my palate cleansers. I play those for like I get stuck someplace. So I'll play those for a little bit, and I'll come back and play whatever RPG I'm playing. I go, oh yeah, it's easy now because I just get out of my head for it.
You got the button mashing and the beating and the just hitting buttons and wildly killing something else.
Yeah, no, that's how it is. So we're doing good. We got about 14-ish minutes left in the show. So good. Once again, this is everybody's watching this. This is Esmerelda May. She is a producer and performer for Burlesque, and in fact, she's got a show coming up called K-pop That Pasty this Saturday. In the chat for Twitch, you got a link for it already. Also, just check out our social medias, and you got that track down as well.
As I say, I also like to just post pictures of random things in cosplays too. So if you like nerdy things,
That's also fair. In fact, look at the cosplay. Like who, like so you're into cosplay. Who's your favorite thing to cosplay?
You know, I said this for several years and I still have to say it. My favorite cosplay of all time, which I have to absolutely done because it has just been worn into the ground, is my Xena costume. It took
Okay.
6 months to make it. It was my first time working with leather and pleather and warbler. And she got rough. And I got to meet Lucy Lawless in it at a convention once. And she's like, "Did you make your costume?" And like, she was my bisexual awakening. So I was just like, like, I was like, I'm gonna act all cool. I'm gonna be like, look at me, I look awesome. And then she said something to me, and I was like, oh my god, you're beautiful, you're tall. Step on me. I mean, what? And then I forgot how to breathe, and also forgot how to talk. And then I had to go because I got a picture with her, and then I got in line with her right after to get her autograph. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna make up for it. She goes, I love your costume. And once again, my brain just went whoop. But that's still definitely my favorite costume. It's gotten into several festivals. It's traveled around the country. It is definitely a labor of love. And I put it on for a digital performance. I went to go do it. And I was like, after I was done filming, I was looking at it and I was like, I think she's Xena'd her last Xena. I need to redo this. But my definite second favorite is my newer one that I just finished, which I posted, which is my Anne Boleyn from the musical Six, which is my first time working with vinyl and not like costuming vinyl, like upholstery vinyl. Like that costume stands up on itself. It doesn't need a hanger. It keeps its form. So that was a lot of like trial and error with mock-ups because once I sewed that, there was like no fixing it type situation. So, but that was a lot of fun. Big Broadway nerd too, if you haven't caught on. I like a little of everything.
That's fair. I went to college for theater, so
Same.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now I do burlesque.
That's a worthwhile degree. No, I went into it
No, it
knowing that
is. I have to act like I care about a lot of people and what day to do.
no, I looked at it. I go, that's just it's a way to get like a ton of experience like really quickly, and that's how I looked at it. I go, all right, cool. I know the degree matters nothing in the theater background. Like if I'm going to like be an actor, or be a producer, be like this, that doesn't matter if I have a degree or not. But
No,
the
you got to be in the
experience of
right
me,
union and know the right people.
yeah, all it is the experience of how to do the things is really what it is.
Yeah.
And so, and like in a short amount of time versus like if I was like trying to learn on my own, I go, all right, cool. I'm gonna write this
Yeah.
thing, and I don't have a deadline, so it could take me 3 years to write the thing, and then it's, how do I submit it? And and I gotta get it in a play. Well, I'm not in a place that makes it easy for me to apply for like 10 plays a year. I mean, I'm in New York
Yeah.
now, so I do, but
I mean, you could definitely try it.
it's a thought. I mean, I was like,
No,
okay, it's a thought. I like, it's like, no, it's like, it's not my gig anymore. I like doing this sort of stuff, which is a little different. And, but I like all the stuff I learned from that. I stem into like learning how to do this stuff because I also did I was a theater major and with a minor in film and TV. So that's how I learned how to structure things. And like even like when I produce shows, I also produce live shows. I would also produce them like a TV show and
we were
creating
talking about that earlier before we kind of like let everybody in. And I
yeah,
think that's really cool.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what
No,
yeah,
yeah. I was
because you
gonna
think
say
of it.
that's really cool.
Yeah, because I don't think of like who's in the show. I think of what their acts are and figure out I'm creating that emotional journey for the audience to watch it. So it's one of those things I go, I don't think of things like headliners and stuff like that. I just think I go, well, so and so's performing this act, which would work best either coming out of like the break or being in the middle. And it could be the biggest name on the show, might be in the middle of the show, just because I don't, that's how I think of it. I think of what's the show, what's your act, what's the song, that
I
sort of stuff.
I think that's a really cool look on it too because like there's so many like it's going back to like there's no real wrong way to do this because there's so many different aspects of it too. And I feel like a lot of people think of like, oh, it's like the big names go at the end type thing, but things like that are cool too. Like kind of going back to like Victor, when White Elephant first started, we used to do not like the convention, like anime and comic book convention circuit, but more like the kink circuit and steampunk circuit, and a lot of events like in the tri-state area over here for that. And those shows, there was no host. It was a storyline, and it was like you followed a character. And I remember the one show we did like we called it the Gilman Hotel, and it was this one performer who's now retired, but she did like ghosts or a girl staying at a hotel, and then she took you to different rooms, and each room was a different decade, and every decade was a different ghost, and that's how we all performed. But like there was no host, so there was no stalling. It was like your music cue is in 30 seconds from the start of this interlude, so you better be in place type of thing. And if you want to talk about having a theater background helping, because like quick changes, like there was no stalling. Like the sound tech hit play and they just worked the lights and the show just ran. So it was one of those things where like you knew you had to learn how to like be where you needed to be and get there. And it was a really cool experience because like that was my first like not nerdy cosplay burlesque experience of burlesque. And then from there I started doing things in like New York and other things like that. So it was like I've gotten to see like I started off with the super nerdy, and then I did like this more like artsy, like artistic storytelling, like think of it like you're doing a movie production kind of thing. And then I went into more of just like, you know, the variety shows you see everywhere. And it was just like, it's so cool to see the different ways of doing that and finding where you can fit in that. Because I mean, I'm a firm believer in like, you don't fit in for every show, but there's a show for everyone.
True. True. And if a good producer can figure out how to put the most of different things into a single show and then how to make it work. So we got to
like, that's why I also like to pair with sometimes. Like when my shows, I like to do like drag or like variety. Like we have some just like dancing numbers as well as the burlesque because I feel like there's a need for everything. So.
Well, yeah, and plus if you see the same thing over and over again, people get bored. Like the audience gets bored, and it's like a lot of time. I think sometimes I'm not naming names because there's not many names. It's just something I've noticed. Occasion is like when people produce shows, they don't they don't they don't think of the audience fully. They think of themselves as the audience member and what they'd like to see, which isn't always what's good for the populace. So watching, for burlesque as an example, watching like 16 classic burlesque numbers, while gorgeous, they're all going to blend in, and the audiences are going to remember who did what.
There's only so many ways you can take off a panel skirt. There's only so many ways you can take off a glove after a while, and there's always with the variations with it. But like you're saying, yeah, after a while, you're like, okay. Like it's great, but it's like eating the same food every day, like your favorite food. You don't not like it anymore, but you're like, okay, I need a little spice.
I mean, I love hamburgers. Don't get me wrong, but I could also kind of use a pizza too, sometimes. As an example, so that's the idea. Is like making sure when I go see shows, like I always look at as far as who's in the act, like who's in performing the show, so that way I can see what sort of show it's going to be. So like if I see a variety of types of performers, even within burlesque, I mean, if it's a strictly burlesque show, but I see a classic, I see a more of a comedy based, I see somebody who's more known for doing like horror burlesque, nerdlesque, or people who do like a gamut of all of that sort of stuff. Plus they have an extra thing, like they're also an aerialist or they're a fire performer or whatever. So there's going to be a variety with the acts. I know it's going to be I'm going to enjoy that show more because there's a variety, and I'm going to remember each act distinctly because they're very unique upon themselves versus watching 15 live shows. A lot of burlesque.
There's something for everybody there.
Yeah. Oh, plus it's just like I also like a little bit of everything, which is why I like burlesque performers and music and film and sideshow and all this different sort of stuff too. So. So we're about out of time, believe it or not. I know, right? I know, really. Once again, everybody's watching the show. Please make sure to watch K-Pop That Pasty this Saturday. Links in the chat. Follow. Make sure you link up to myself or Esmerelda there on the social medias, and you can see the links also on there. I believe it's $10 to watch. And then you have like something like a $5 after show sort of thing, which is cool as well.
So it's $10 to watch the live show, and then you get access to the rewatch, which is up for 2 weeks. And then it's $5 for the rewatch ticket. I am actually doing a sale because today is actually my birthday though. If you do use promo code on the Eventbrite link, EsmeDirty30, you can actually save a little bit until like $7 for the live plus the rewatch itself. So definitely check that out. And it's just ESME, because that's like the nickname I go by. And then Dirty 30, all one word, no caps, no nothing. But it's a lot of fun. Even if you don't like K-pop, the artists I have are amazing. I've got Masochist from Delaware, Renaissance Noir from Philadelphia, Hanali from Texas, Kita Singh from New York City, Sake from California, myself, Dio Katila, who's a nerdless performer that I work with very closely, from Maryland. We got a little bit of everything for everybody. If you don't like K-pop, you can still enjoy the art, and you might even find something you like.
Yeah, always. I'm always a fan of trying something new. I completely recommend that. So I will be watching, most likely in the replay, but I will definitely be watching regardless. Yeah, that's how it's going to work. So anything else you want to plug before we get out of here?
Let's see. I just check out if you are in like the East Coast area, Magical Girl Burlesque. I'm doing their show. It's my first live show back, like actually in person. And then Cosplay Burlesque, which is the other show that I help produce virtually. We have a summer heat show on August 7th, I believe. It's the first Saturday of August. So if you also, because it's a sister show, if you do buy a K-pop that pasty ticket, we can give you another discount for that because they kind of go hand in hand there. But other than that, keep an eye out. Keep an eye out in Philly, in New York. I'm a big girl. I'm Latin. I'm loud. I'm everywhere. But I'm also super fun.
So yes, thank you so much for jumping in and joining us today. We've made new friends here. We made new friends. Thank
We can talk
everybody.
more video games
Yeah.
later too.
Oh yeah. So everybody, thank you once again for tuning in to watch the G Spot this week. I spoiled what's going to happen next week, which I'm talking with Michael Mateo, who's a composer and musician out of Los Angeles. He's amazing. He's a really, really interesting guy. So make sure everybody tune in for that, whether it's live or watching later. I appreciate you either way you decide to do that sort of stuff. So anyways, we're going to get out of here. Everybody stay tuned. There's more fun stuff happening here on the channel. So be cool, be groovy, and as always, keep drinking, everybody.